Wallabies and Lions third and final test, folks. The series is already decided. You can call this one a dead rubber, but both the teams are looking pretty strong as the Lions seek the sweep of the Wallabies in this series, and the Wallabies would like to go out on a high after, I don't know, about the performance levels, because everyone said that the Lions were going to smash the Wallabies on this tour, and sure enough, they've won both games, but neither game was an absolute hiding. Both teams have had their patches in one half or the other, but we'll go through the teams which have been announced, some of the prediction stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts, and I'll try and get this done before I need to sneeze again, because I'm all full of bugs, which I'm going to blame my daughter for bringing home from school for, but she's all good now. Lucky her. For the Wallabies, they have made a few changes. Nick White, his selection in his final ever professional rugby game at number 9 is apparently not a sentimental one, but it feels pretty sentimental. Joe Schmidt said it's not sentimental, he's not a sentimental guy, but Jake Gordon played pretty well last week. Joe reckons it's because he's got a good kicking game and it's going to be poor weather in Sydney, but Jake Gordon's got a pretty good box kick on him as well, so it feels like a pretty sentimental one, but he's been a servant to Aussie rugby. I wonder if the game was not a dead rubber, if they would have pulled the trigger on Gordon, or they would have stuck with the plan of keeping White. We'll never know. Ikitau and Suoliti still in the midfield. We've still got Liner at 10, so there's kind of, through the centre of the paddock for the Wallabies, pretty stable lines. Jorgensen still on one wing. They've had to replace Harry Potter, who was injured in that last game. Unfortunately, he is replaced by Dylan Peach, who was pretty strong and direct on the ball carries in the games that we've seen him in recent times. And then Tom Wright is there at fullback, so it's a still attacking-minded backfield from the Wallabies, and as I said, Joe's talking about maybe a bit of extra kicking from Nick White. I think one area that the Wallabies did look really strong last week was their backs, more so than the forwards. The forwards really struggled to get go-forward ball, barring really Rob Valentini. So yeah, the backs were getting clean breaks and breaking tackles and whatnot. They also missed a few, like Suoliti got skinned a few times. Obviously, centre's a pretty hard space to defend at, but they certainly look dangerous. That's something we can say pretty surely about this Wallabies backline. Forwards, Slipper, Parecki and Tupou, so that's the one change at tight here with Alaalatoa also being injured, so Tupou comes in. They need to improve the scrum because they were just getting slammed there last week. It was a real turnaround from game 1. They were just conceding penalties virtually every scrum, weren't they, the Wallabies? So Tupou, yeah, he's had 2 games against the Lions already. Didn't play so well in the first one, but played pretty well in the second, so he'll be looking to continue some of that form. Locks is still Skelton and Frost, which as expected meant Frost had to do the bulk of the line-out work. I think he won 11 line-outs last week for the Wallabies, and the Wallabies other guys in total, I think, had 8 between them. So Nick Frost winning more than half the line-out ball for the Wallabies. If you shut him down, you can largely limit the Wallabies' opportunities from the line-out set play. But they did get creative. They showed, some long balls over the back to the likes of a Valentini or a Gleeson, some short balls, like no jump to Skelton. So they've got a bit of variety in that area of the game. Hooper comes in at 6 for Valentini, whose injury that kept him out of the first test has flared up again. Keeps him out of this one. He was the one Wallabies forward who was genuinely getting go forward on the ball carry. So that's like maybe the one guy you probably didn't want injured, honestly. He was averaging over 3 meters a carry. All the other Wallabies forwards were not, and numerous Lions forwards were getting really good go-forward ball. So Tom Hooper is not a big old ball carrier like Valentini is, but he's a great line-out option. So a bit of a change-up, I guess. You lose a bit on the ball carrier, but you gain a bit of another option. Line-out time, McCrite still there at 7, and Wilson is there at 8. Bench-wise, Pollard, Bell, and Nongor. Nongor comes in on the bench. Williams is still there alongside Gleeson, but they've gone with the 3 backs on the bench this time with McDermott, Donaldson, and Callaway coming back in. There is no Tizano for this one. Joe didn't mention that he's injured, but he mentioned that he took a big hit in that game, and he went on a physics explanations about, what was it, Newton's third law, and social media abuse and whatnot, that he needed to take a breather. So, yeah, no Tizano on the bench for this one for the Wallabies. For the Lions, they have made a few tinkering changes, but it's not wholesale changes. This is not, let's just give everybody a game because the series is already wrapped up kind of thing. It's very, very stable. James Ryan getting a start. They singled him out. basically saying he deserves a start based on the form that he's been showing. So he's up in the second row alongside Maro, and then Blair Kinghorn also starts on the wing. Andy Farrell basically mentioned the conditions will suit Blair's game, and I think you got some pretty good value from him ball in hand last week as well. Porter, Sheehan and Furlong, that is the same all-Irish front row as last week. They'll be looking to continue the dominance they had at scrum time. Maro and Ryan, like I mentioned, he's been pretty imperious the entire season, hasn't he, in terms of like this Lions series. He's been great on the turnover, great on the line-out. He's even had a few kind of up-the-guts carries, so very pleasing. And Tyke Bird, him and Curry have been a couple of the kind of MVPs in that Lions back row, haven't they? So those guys still continue on, and then Jack Conan. So the forward pack is essentially just James Ryan. That is the only change. Otherwise, very, very stable stuff. Gibson Park and Russell, likewise, if it ain't broke, don't fix it from those two. I mean, Gibson Park played the entire 80 last week. Mitchell couldn't even get on. Such was the nature of the close chasing down the game. Mitchell didn't get a chance to come on. I think if they'd been leading, with a few minutes to go, they might have seen Mitchell come on, but chasing the game down, still faith in Gibson Park. Aki and Hugh Jones continue on in the midfield. Freeman's on the right, as I mentioned. Kinghorn's on the left, and Keenan is there at fullback, the try scorer from Game 2, who got the winner. Kelleher, Genge and Stewart, same front row replacements on the bench. Chesham drops to the bench. Morgan is still there. Ben Earl comes in because it's a 6-2 split from the Lions, looking to bring the beef in the potentially wet conditions. Mitchell and Owen Farrell round out the other two back replacements. Some stats for you. Line breaks last week was 9-4. To who? To the Wallabies. They were able to genuinely cut open the Lions' defensive line at times, particularly the backs. When they're playing a heads-up game, they were looking very dangerous. They were not so dangerous at scrum time. Like I mentioned, they were conceding a lot of penalties in that area. And as I said, the forwards' inability to make a dent in the Lions' defensive line, especially in the second half. Like Skelton may not have been getting huge meter numbers, but he's at least able to draw in a few tacklers because he's such a unit. And Ballatini, when he went off, they just lost that kind of impact. They were averaging overall, I think, 3 meters a carry, the Wallabies, whereas the Lions are more at that gold standard of 4. Multiple Lions forward carriers, the likes of Byrne and even like Stewart off the bench, Curry. These guys were getting some cracking good numbers on the ball carry. Their turnovers conceded was a bit high, the Lions. Once they actually started catching the ball, not chucking it into touch, things went right. Like the Aussie defensive line seemed quite happy to allow the Lions guys meters, and eventually they would kind of keep making the tackles, and the Lions would kind of make a mistake rather than get pushed backwards. But yeah, if they can start the game clinically, the Lions, you might even get an 80-minute performance from them. We'll kind of have to wait and see. But yeah, as I said, both these tests, 1 and 2, have been kind of games in two halves. The Lions have finished strong in the second. They started strong in the first. The Wallabies, the flip side of both. So will we get to see an 80-minute performance from either? Andy Farrell seems to think not, that there's always kind of swings and roundabouts within a game in itself. Nika Amashukeli, the Georgian, is the referee for this one. Fingers crossed he has a good game. It's on at Sydney, 8 p.m. local time over there in Australia. The Lions are favourites once again by 8 points to take the sweep. It's still, I feel like, the series not on the line, which is disappointing, but you can feel with the selections, barring Nick White's one, which is, as I said, feels a little bit sentimental. Both these sides, they really want to get themselves a win, both for their different reasons. If you want Lions or Wallabies gear, I know the Lions gear is at like 60% off at this point, some of it. Check the links down in the description to both the Wallabies shop and the British and Irish Lions store. They are both affiliates of the channel. So if you use those links, it lets them know this guy sent you. So get yourself some gear before the tour is done. Let us know how your thoughts are on test number 3. Have the Wallabies got a shot, or do you think the Lions get the sweep? You guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Ta-ra.